It's GYPSYROSE. And my middle initial is A.
Okay.
BLANCHARD.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard has been released from prison. The 32-year-old previously pled guilty to the second-degree murder of her mother, Claudine Dee Blanchard.
The first time I've been honest, besides being honest, with my attorneys.
Since Gypsy Rose's release from prison, I have been following her case pretty closely. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the important clips that I found that coincide with the Lifetime series that just came out. And if you're not able to watch the Lifetime series, or you want to watch it with us, in our Patreon and member group, which is on Discord, you can join this Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be streaming the entire series, along with a live chat. Check the description of this video for links on how to join, or just simply scan the QR code on your screen. Hope to see you there on Saturday night. The name of this podcast we're watching is The Viall Files with Nick Viall. You can find the link to the entire video in the description of this video.
People have this misconception that prison is the same thing as a jail, and it's not. Actually, a jail is confined. It has cells. There's toilets in the room. But prison, you actually have a key to your room. Yeah, they keep it as much homey, I guess you could say, quote unquote homey, for inmates as possible. They have jobs in prison. They have activities. Actually, we even had a Super Bowl party last year. So, I mean, prison is a world in itself. And so it was hard leaving my friends behind because I have some friends that have some very lengthy sentences. Mm-hmm. So
Do you want to give a shout out to any of them?
Yeah, to Amelia Bird.
Okay.
She actually has a very similar case to mine. And her case was, featured on podcasts as well. So, I was very close with her because we had a lot in common. I say we both have mommy issues.
Amelia Bird suffered extreme physical abuse at the hands of her father and brother throughout her life. As a teenager, Amelia resorted to drugs and an unstable and violent boyfriend, Chad Brantley, for refuge and comfort. When she was 16 years old, she complained to her then ex-boyfriend Brantley about the abuse. In an effort to win back Amelia's affections and to enable him to continue to control her life, Brantley took it upon himself to enter her parents' house at night while Amelia was sleeping and shot both her parents. Her mother died and her father was badly injured. Charged along with Brantley and threatened with first-degree murder and the death penalty, Amelia eventually relented and took the plea to second-degree murder and first-degree assault. She received 2 life sentences to be served consecutively and won't be eligible for parole until she is at least 60. And that synopsis comes from The Willow Project.
And the first TV show I watched was Obi-Wan Kenobi because I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Are you?
So, it came out last year. So I was like, oh my God, I'm dying to see this.
That was a good.
Enter Gypsy Rose's creepy boyfriend from Videocon.
Tried to run away.
I did, yes.
Several times.
The first time was with a guy, a much older guy. And, I grew up on Disney princess movies. And so I thought like the only escape I had was with a guy. So that was only my form of reference for anything. And that didn't pan out. He didn't even have a vehicle. So
actually 19. At that time, I met this guy, Dan Khan, and he kept telling me, "You're an adult and you can leave." And so I ran away. I thought that it was a possibility that he was the one. But he doesn't even have a car. He doesn't even have a place of his own. He's staying in his friend's house. I'm like, okay, this is not what I expected at all.
released at like 3:30 in the morning. They released me a little bit different than other inmates. Usually other inmates get out at around 8 a.m. And they were very concerned about my safety because there was also a lot of media around the prison at that time. So
Let's talk a little bit about Gypsy's release from prison. We have all watched closely at all of the photos that have shown up on social media and the infamous boots. It came out in the Lifetime series that those were her stepmother's boots. So the family that she's counting on to bond with her, be with her, couldn't be bothered to find out if the boots fit or send her a new pair of shoes. And you may say, Jay, why does this even matter? What a stupid thing to even mention. But it is a little thing. It's a little detail, but it says a lot because they all knew that this day was coming. They all knew that the media was going to be watching her and following her. I honestly felt embarrassed for Gypsy Rose at this moment.
exactly.
I want to start with some light ones first before we really get into stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
when you left prison, I think the internet first lost their mind. You had your Dr. Pepper ready to go.
Your 24 pack.
And I gotta
Bag of
say,
Snickers.
if Coca-Cola ever approached you and said, Gypsy, we want you to be the spokesperson of Coca-Cola.
I'd have to turn them down because
You
I
would.
have to
That's
turn them
loyalty
down.
right there.
She is.
It's funny. I say that I'm like 16 years old again because I'm just discovering Snapchat and selfies and social media.
And that would probably be a very good reason to not have children right now.
Didn't have much of a social media presence before I got arrested either. So I'm coming into learning about all this kind of stuff. My husband, he picked me up and then we drove to a hotel that we got locally. So just in case, and then we spent the night, we had our first intimate moments as husband and wife, got to consummate our marriage, which was great.
We go.
So many thoughts right now. First thought, people like this egging her on are part of the problem. Secondly, you're about to hear them get a little more TMI. Not to mention that the angle of the camera is very, very disturbing as well.
And clearly it seemed to live up to expectations.
It did.
Okay, good.
This is a post of Gypsy Rose defending her husband from the haters online that are jealous that they're not going home with her, and he is.
One response, one clapback in particular, has just gone viral. I'm curious to know what your response to everybody else's response to that response is.
Your response to everybody else's response to that response is?
Number one, I never asked her to do that. The responses don't bother me. Throw that hate, guys. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I got this to go home to. So y'all throw that hate all you want. But after she did, I was like, whoa.
Of course, I love him and his feelings are important to me. So watching those comments, I just wanted to basically say, hey, don't listen to the haters because really they don't matter. We have love from the people that know us, and to the people that don't know us, you should.
I like that.
Because we're awesome.
Right.
But,
After she did, I was like, whoa. And I did like that my wife fought for me. Like that, it does feel good.
All right, so not only is that post just kind of gross, but I noticed something kind of creepy in it. Remember when Dee Dee Blanchard was found? There was a Barney doll, you know, the I love you, you love me Barney doll. Let's take a closer look at the wording of this post. Now, if I was someone who was just released from prison for my part in my mother's murder, and there was a Barney doll found next to her dead body, I don't think I'd ever use Barney's tagline again. But Gypsy Rose does.
And then after that, you know, the next morning we had planned a little get together with my family, where I just got to spend time with my dad and my stepmom and my sister, and just really enjoy some family bonding time.
So it looks like Gypsy went to Olive Garden with her family. I love Olive Garden's soup, salad, and breadsticks myself. But now we're going to talk a little bit about Gypsy Rose's dad. And this is another instance where I did feel sorry and embarrassed.
Is coming to be my support for my parole. It's very meaningful. It's very symbolic.
So even though it seems like dad is a deadbeat, it seems like stepmom Christy is stepping in his place. And I think that's very kind of her. But I feel like her dad should be making the effort at this point. He didn't see her for years and years while she was sick.
Oh, I'm wanting to get a matching tattoo with my stepmom Christy. So there's this symbol, and it's called a unilome.
Okay.
And basically, it's a little squiggly line that basically means that the path to enlightenment and like a self-awareness is mixed with twists and turns, but it doesn't make it any less beautiful. And I want to get that on the back of my neck.
Right, this is where it gets a little weird. And her dad saying it was so easy to believe Dee Dee. I don't know. I look at their videos and I think, my God, how did no one ever question the validity of Dee Dee's claims? And one thing I remember about all these wild stories, like the one we're about to get into.
My mother put a voodoo hex on me. She printed out a picture of Dan, and she printed out a picture of me, and she went to the store and got a mason jar and a cow tongue. She put the cow tongue in the mason jar with the two pictures and a little bit of my menstrual blood.
Okay, I am officially creeped out. Where did Dee Dee get a little bit of her menstrual blood, number one? And why is she smiling and raising her eyebrows like she thinks this is a grand story, part of the story? Are you creeped out yet?
Put it in a mason jar, buried it in the backyard, and said that you will never find love. You will never be happy. So I think that it's true.
No tears.
I just think it's true because it's like every time I get close to someone, they leave me.
Gypsy has a wild imagination. We've seen it in action with her personas with Nick, Ruby, Candy, Kitty.
So Dee Dee was putting spells on Gypsy. That's wild.
Meet Dee Dee's brother that clearly just learned the story about Dee Dee casting spells. He says, that's wild. But then he goes on to justify it with his own story about Dee Dee. Just can't go along with the fact that Dee Dee Blanchard could mind control anybody, especially a physician.
You gotta check out, drink the milk before you buy the cow.
And now brown chicken, brown cow. The part you've all been dreading.
Having sex for the first time with your husband.
Uh-huh.
Was it everything you expected it to.
It was so sweet. And
Yeah.
like I have a past of sexual abuse. So I was molested when I was 9 by my grandfather. And then in my relationship with Nick, there was some sexual abuse. It was just a very toxic relationship. So coming from a place where I never had a sex life, I never felt safe. It was like being used and abused, one person after another. So
I'm just a tad bit confused because wasn't it her that led Nick to the bathroom in the Cinderella costume to go have sex in the men's bathroom stall?
they say, you gotta drink the milk before you buy the cow. And that didn't happen for us. So I was extremely nervous. But then within 10 minutes, I was like, okay, this is happening. And I felt totally comfortable and totally safe. I don't think I'm like my mother at all. I try actively not to be. And doing these interviews are hard enough. Like at the end of the day, I have trauma. And so for me, having to do interviews is in a sense reliving it.
She lost me again here. What does she mean having to do interviews? She's being forced to do interviews? Who's forcing her to do interviews?
And I can bet you that I'll have a nightmare reliving it all over again. So I don't need to watch it.
I think I see what Gypsy Rose is doing here. She's playing on people's sympathy.
In my past relationships, I've had 2 relationships since I've been incarcerated. And each one of my exes and even my husband is like, baby, if you would have asked me that question, if you would have said, hey, can you come my mom to get me out of this situation? They would have said no.
I wonder if this is one of Gypsy's prerequisite questions when they write her in prison. Would you have done it for me? Yes? No? She knew damn well that Nick would do it for her. She knew his state of mind, and she knew she could manipulate it. That's, of course, just my opinion.
Okay, no, we're not doing that.
Let's go to the police.
Let's go to the police. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get you out of this situation, but let's go to the authorities. All right, and we're gonna do this the right way. Nick did not say that. He has these dark fantasies. He wanted to do it.
Again, Gypsy's words that he wanted to do it. In his own words in the interrogation video, Nick said he wouldn't have done it if Gypsy didn't want him to. He also said he asked her right before he did it if she was sure.
It was a fantasy he lived out, and he's paying the consequences for that. So with that being said, it's neither here nor there in my opinion, what I think of the situation. It's just, it is what it is.
Nick really wanted to make my mother suffer as much as possible in a very violent and demented way. And so one of the fantasies that he expressed to me was that he wanted to murder her, and then he wanted to dump her on an abandoned farm. There's pigs there, and apparently pigs eat anything. But beforehand, he wanted to rape her. You have to understand that I thought that Nick was going to be my pretty mommy. I thought this was someone that was my forever. So I took him back. I really thought that Nick loved me, and he was my way out.
Speaking of ways out.
I still suffer from, PTSD and trauma. I keep reliving this one nightmare over and over again, and it's tied to that night. It's tied to the house.
Are you able to share that?
So yeah, and I've had actually 2 nightmares that reoccur a lot. So the first one, my therapist said, is attributed to the guilt that I feel.
If she truly has a therapist, don't you think that therapist would recommend no social media when she got out of prison?
So the first one that I have is I have a cell phone. I'm in my dream. I'm holding a cell phone and I'm trying to call my dad. And the number, for some reason, I can't get through to him. The number doesn't work. The phone is turned off or whatever it be. I can't get through to him. And I have that nightmare again and again and again.
I'm no psychologist or therapist, but it sounds to me like that falls right on her dad's lap.
And then the other one is about that night, and I keep on going back into that house and just feeling very frightened. And, the murder just happens again and again and again in my mind. Like, I'm free physically, but I'm not free from the trauma. A lot of the girls in prison said, girl, I would have done the same thing. It makes me cringe. I hate that. And I felt so much guilt whenever I first got arrested because it spiraled so quickly.
When she says it spiraled so quickly, then she mentions the Blanchard fraud scheme. I'm wondering if investigators didn't bring 23-year-old Gypsy a lot of receipts from the fraud and the scams that she could have possibly went along with.
I got arrested, and then my attorney visited me, and then all of a sudden he's got a stack of paperwork on his desk talking about the Blanchard fraud scheme, and people were saying that my mother was a bad mom and things like that. And for me, I'm like, I was in a state of shock. So I was processing it all, but I felt a sense of guilt.
I'm thankful because I have no idea why I'm here.
Okay.
Nobody will tell me anything. About a week ago, it all started when I met my boyfriend Nick.
Okay.
And we met on an online dating website. My mom had a laptop, and so I used hers.
Okay.
But
let me back up for just a second. Okay. Earlier when I said let's be honest with each other, okay?
Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next one.